I'm going to be making some roasted tomato soup today because I have 14 pounds of processed tomatoes again, and I also have a ton of cherry tomatoes in this roasting pan along with some tomatoes that were finally ripe today, so let's make it together. I already cored these tomatoes and then I cut them in half and put them cut side down so that when they're done roasting, I can easily just pluck these skins off. We are going to start off chopping 1 large onion and adding that to our roasting pan. Now I'm adding in my Italian seasoning. You could use whatever herbs you prefer if you don't have Italian seasoning. Typically I would put 2 heads of garlic in here, but I didn't have any, but I did still have a few garlic cloves, so I just added those in and added extra garlic seasoning. Now I'm adding in some cracked black pepper, and I'm seasoning with my heart here if you haven't noticed. That's part of the fun of cooking. Now I'm adding in canning salt because I will be canning this tomato soup, and I did measure the salt out ironically, and I used 3 tablespoons. I added in 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper to enhance the flavor and give it just a touch of heat. Now we're going to finish it off with some olive oil, of course, and some balsamic vinegar. Trust me on the balsamic vinegar, it ties all of the flavor profiles together. Then I roasted the tomatoes for 1 hour at 425 degrees Fahrenheit. While my tomatoes were roasting, I used my immersion blender on my processed tomatoes, and you could also just use a regular blender. I just didn't want to dirty a huge blender. I did use my mesh sieve, whatever it's called, to strain out my seeds. This is totally optional and takes forever. Ugh, you guys, I wish you could smell this. My house already smells like tomato soup at this point, and look at how beautiful that mixture is. Now I need to use my immersion blender again, so I'm just dumping these tomatoes into my pot, and then I'm going to blend them up so they're nice and smooth, and then I'm going to strain my seeds out again. Now I'm adding in 2 cups of basil from our garden that I had frozen Ziploc bags with olive oil, and I used my immersion blender again to smooth it out. I cooked the tomato soup for about an hour, and I did add in some extra Italian seasoning, but that was it. And we are at the finish line here, and I'm just placing my tomato soup in my jars. I always place my hot jars on a wood cutting board versus plastic. I also started heating up my jars in my hot water bath canner once I turned the heat on for my tomato soup. It honestly takes about a half hour for the water to come to a boiling on the canner. You want whatever you are canning to be the same degrees as your jars, otherwise your glass could break or weaken over time. My water in my canner and my tomato soup were about 200 degrees, and if you turn on your canner while you're cooking down whatever you're canning, it's going to save you time. I processed the tomato soup for 25 minutes and they are done. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see what else I can. Thanks for watching. Bye!